What is up, my friend? I am super excited to be talking to you today about the golden rule and whether it's really the best way to encourage our students to build bridges and to develop empathy in a culturally responsive classroom. Now, I've thought about this golden rule a lot, right, for years, and I started to really reflect on what it means to me and the best ways to apply it in my life. But I recently facilitated a couple of workshops with teachers at a charter school in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And while we were discussing the best ways to create a culturally responsive classroom, which includes policies, procedures, setting norms and expectations, and all of that stuff, the golden rule came up. Now, if you're not familiar with the golden rule, it essentially says that a person should treat other people the way that they wish to be treated. And while this rule has really permeated our common expectations, it is found in several religious texts and throughout different doctrines for spiritual ideologies about good living. And I want to share those with you because I think it's interesting. You know, I love to define words, to break down phrases. I love to read definitions, right? And so I want to offer some perspective on this golden rule before I dive into this conversation about whether it is indeed the best way to encourage our students, you know, as far as their beliefs, their behaviors, and their ways of being. So in Judaism, you will find this golden rule saying something like, what is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. This is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary. In Hinduism, it says, this is the sum of duty. Do not do to others what would cause pain if done to you. Buddhism, treat not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. Christianity, in everything, do to others as you would have them do to you, for this is the law and the prophets. Taoism, regard your neighbor's gain as your own gain and your neighbor's loss as your own loss. Islam, not one of you truly believes until you wish for others what you wish for yourself. Sikhism, I am a stranger to no one, and no one is a stranger to me. Indeed, I am a friend to all. Now, those are just a few. Those are just a few of some of the, more, I guess, well-known religions and the way that they have interpreted this golden rule. And I will make sure that I link to where I found all of those iterations in the show notes. So, as I said before, this golden rule has extended far past religion, right? It is something that has permeated our common realm of expectation. But is it really the best way to encourage our students to behave and to build these bridges of empathy? I have thought about this for a long time, but when it came up in the workshop, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, Jocelyn, you've got to talk about this on the podcast because it is something that comes up all the time when educators are discussing policies and procedures about creating a classroom culture and words that are used with students. Now, I will say that I personally believe the golden rule is a wonderful starting place. I think it is. But it is not, in my personal opinion, the best ending place. And now, if you listen to any of my other podcast episodes, you know that I believe this is a journey. I don't really believe that we arrive, right? I've been doing this work for several years. I mean, I've been in education for 17 years, and I have not arrived. I am still wrestling with my own biases and stereotypes and just some of the little seeds that were planted inside of me as a child, right? Because every year, as I get older, as I have new lived experiences, something from my childhood is like plucked back out. And I gotta wrestle with that thing and say, oh my gosh, what was it that I was raised to believe? And how has that sat with me? How has that impacted the way that I engage with other people? How has that impacted the way that I show up? So anyway, the golden rule is one of those seeds. That is something that I was definitely taught as a child. And like I said, I do believe it's a great starting place, but I don't believe it is an ending place. And you may not agree with me. I mean, you may completely disagree, and that's fine too. But I would love for you to hear me out. I would love for you to just listen to the end and then send me a DM. Find me on Instagram. My handle is at I Teach Custom. Custom Teaching Solutions, Jocelyn, any of those things will work to find me, and share your thoughts. You know I love to talk. So let's talk. Let's chat about this. I wanna hear your perspective. So during the training, I mentioned how the golden rule came up. And when I was talking with the teachers, I told them that I feel like the golden rule is a bit flawed because although the premise of treating others the way you want to be treated is solid in theory, it's not always the best in practice. It's not always the best in action because we are all unique and nuanced. We don't all like to be treated the same in every situation. For example, failure on a test or some other form of rejection. People handle that very differently. Maybe I need a pep talk. I need a come on girl, get back out there. You can do this, la da 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 da, and I'm good to go. But other people may not appreciate that. They may need some time for individual reflection, or maybe they want to listen to a motivational speech or a TED talk or something like that on YouTube. I even think about my own kids and how differently they respond to different situations. Birthdays. This is something that I think a lot of people put emphasis on and see as something very important to celebrate. And three of my children, because I've got five, three of them love a loud party, all the recognition and the celebration and the focus on them, all eyes on me kind of thing. They love to be the center of attention. One of my kids is a little bit too young for me to really know what she even thinks about, that type of attention. From what I can tell so far, she loves attention, but I don't know if she wants it from like multiple people. And then one of my kids definitely does not want that type of attention and really thought that he did. So we were throwing birthday parties. Like, we don't throw birthday parties every year. We throw them every other year. So this particular child was turning 5 and had seen older siblings have big parties and said, I want a party too. We put together this party. We spent extra money to have Spider-Man come jump at this party. We are 20 minutes into the party. Friends are there from school. Cousins are there. All this stuff. And my child says, Mommy, I want to go home. I don't want to be here. I said, your friends are here. We just got here. Your friends are here. The cake is here. We have this venue for at least an hour and a half. And my son says, I don't want to. I want to go home. I want to party with my brother and sister. That's all I want. And I said, okay, I understand. Can we talk through this? Can we compromise just a little bit? How about you stick close to your brother and sister during this party, and we won't stay the whole time. We will shorten the party, but your friends have come to see you. So let's just honor the fact that they've come out to see you. And then I promise we will go home and you can have some time to yourself. And he was okay with that. But even when he told me he wanted a birthday party, I knew him well enough to know that he didn't really want that, but he kept saying he did. And he really just kind of wanted to be treated like the other people because he saw everyone else doing that. And even when I called my sister, one of my sisters, she said, he wants a party? I said, And so she didn't believe it either. And when I told her that it didn't go as well as I would have hoped, she was like, yeah, I I believe that, I expected that kind of thing. So that's a long story, right? But essentially, I already kind of knew from observing my children that this child probably wasn't going to want a birthday party, so I wasn't pushing that on him. But I love birthday parties. I mean, I love a good party. Turn on the music, put some good food out, gather my favorite people in a room, and I am in heaven. I am on cloud 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever. I am there. But if I was to treat all of my children that same way with the expectation that because it's their birthday, they want to be celebrated that way, then there's going to start to be some disconnect. There may be some resentment. There may be, just a disconnect. Like I said, just a real disconnect. And this is something that I definitely caution teachers on when they are getting so excited about birthday celebrations in their classrooms. Because yes, a lot of kids do want to be recognized, but many don't. I think about my own personal life, that part of my family are Jehovah's Witnesses. And there is no celebration of holidays. You don't recognize your birthday. You don't celebrate Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, any of those things, because they want to keep the focus on on Jesus, right? On God, and bringing the celebration and the focus on the individual. And I am not a Jehovah's Witness, so I can't speak to that completely, but just my understanding of that, again, is that we want to keep the focus here and not there. But when family members were going through school, they didn't always want to share the fact that they were Jehovah's Witnesses, because they might have been in the minority as far as the religious beliefs. And now you've got a teacher who is celebrating you and making a big fuss over you on your birthday, or asking you to create a Mother's Day card, and you can't even give it to your mother. Now, of course, the parents could have shared that information with the teacher, but would the teacher have responded? I mean, I don't know, right? I can't speak to that. But what I'm saying is that all of these experiences for myself have made me much more reflective and thoughtful about this idea of the golden rule, that we want to treat others the way that we want to be treated. Because again, on a foundational level, at the core, I think it is good, right? It is at a basic level challenging us to say, hey, I want to be treated kindly. I want to be treated with love and respect. And so I should treat others with love and respect. And that is why I say that it is a great starting place, but not necessarily an ending place. And and again, you may disagree with me. Maybe you're thinking, Jocelyn, you are missing the point completely. Like that's not the point. And maybe you're right. That's what I'm saying. Look, find me on Instagram, send me an email. Let's talk about this, because I value stories and I value perspective. So I want to hear yours. And like I said, I do like the golden rule. I just think it needs to be tweaked. I think we need to think about it more deeply before we start encouraging students to follow it. Because really and truly, we can't just treat people how we want to be treated. We have to treat them how they want to be treated. One of the teachers in the workshop that I was talking about earlier brought up a really good point. She said, many times, in order to treat others kindly and respectfully, you have to remember that you love to be treated kindly and respectfully, right? So when you're reflecting on that, you become aware of how it makes you feel, and you think to yourself, yeah, I think others would want to feel that same way. And so it does start to build this bridge of empathy between you and the other person. And I wholeheartedly agreed with her, right? Like I said before, I mean, it's a great starting place. We need these building blocks. We need a starting place. And especially our students, right? Our students need a very clear path a lot of times in guiding them on certain things. Not always. I definitely believe in leading with curiosity and discovery, but it's nice to sometimes have a little bit of a roadmap, a couple of checkpoints where I can say, okay, I'm checking in here, and this is a little bit of guidance there. Now, the in my opinion, the ending place should be some place that we reach after a lot of thought and growth, after paradigm shifts and greater insight into our behaviors, our beliefs, and our ways of being. Encouraging our students to follow the golden rule requires a few things. So, if we're going to do this, here are my suggestions. First, explain to your students what the golden rule means. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. Kind of dive into, if you want to be treated kindly, treat others kindly. If you want others to love you, you should love others. Right? Like, go through this explanation, because you cannot be sure that a student is familiar with this golden rule. Now, the second thing is to provide time for reflection. How often do students actually think about how they wish they were treated and then share that knowledge with others? I think students think about it in the heat of the moment a lot of times, or after something has happened, and they're like, gosh, I really wish that these people had treated me this way, or that they had included me in this activity. But being proactive in their reflection and really saying, in general, this is how I like to be treated, I don't think that it happens very often. And I believe that this could be a great thought exercise for any age and any subject area. Your youngest learners can start to articulate how they want to be treated. And it's not only a way for students to learn about themselves, but it's also a great way for them to learn about their peers, right? Because students are sitting with themselves and they're being reflective. So they're thinking, okay, what do I think? How do I feel about this? And then when you have like a partner share activity, or you have this group discussion, the students can listen to what their classmates are saying and compare and say, do they believe the same way that I believe? Do they want to be treated really the same way that I want to be treated in this particular situation? And it's going to also allow you to get to know your students so that you can best meet their needs. So it's like a win-win, right? They get to know themselves, their peers, so that perspective, but then you also get to know who they are. And when you get to know who they are, then you get to meet their needs in a way that they are going to truly be able to thrive during the formal lesson experience. I recommend, during this reflection time, giving your students a few scenarios that's going to get their minds percolating. And then for your older students, ask them to contribute, ask them to share some scenarios that they've either been in, or just things that they maybe like worry about, right? I mean, this is something great for the first few weeks of school, because students come in a lot of times with anxieties, with so much uncertainty. And so to kind of run through some of these scenarios and to say, okay, what's worst case? What's best case? How do you want to be treated? How do you anticipate treating others in this situation? Again, this is a really great activity for them to get to know who they are, what they believe, and how they plan to act. But then for you to understand who they are, because that is really the best way for you to outline the rules and expectations, the policies and procedures in your classroom. Yes, there may be a few staples that you carry along from year to year, but students are nuanced. And just a little tweak in wording or presentation of this certain rule can make a huge difference. Okay, so number one was to explain what the golden rule is, what it's all about. Number two is to set aside time for your students to reflect and share. And then number three is to allow them to share with partners. So number two is just the time for reflection. And then number three is that you need to have some type of discussion or partner activity, because that is where the light bulbs start to, not necessarily to go on, because I think that light bulbs are going to start to go on during that time of reflection, but they're going to start to brighten. Maybe additional light bulbs are going to go on as the students are having these conversations, and they can see that different people, even people that they thought, oh, because we look the same as far as our race, right? Like our physical presence, We are the same because of our age. We are in some of the same activities. Students might have assumed that because those things are similar, that those people would want to be treated in the same way. And this conversation, this discussion will help them to see that, oh boy, oh my goodness, yeah, maybe they don't want to be treated that same way, right? And our golden rule is great. It's great for starting these conversations because it reminds us that we are all human. We all love to laugh. We love to be loved. We love to experience joy. We want to be happy and not harmed. We want to love and not be lonely. But the key to fully and effectively implementing the golden rule is ensuring that this third step happens. Okay? We've got to make sure that the golden rule comes outside of our head and outside of ourselves. And this is what Dr. Gloria Ladson Billings, who, as you know, is the mother of culturally relevant pedagogy, describes in this development of cultural competence, right? Because when you are utilizing culturally relevant pedagogy, you don't only want to focus on becoming a culturally competent educator, but you want to help your students to become culturally competent. So learning about and understanding self is invaluable, but then learning about and understanding and respecting others and their beliefs and their values is equally as important. And so that's where that third component comes in, right? We kind of establish a common understanding, and then we set aside time for reflection so that we can sort through our own feelings around this concept. But then we've got to talk to others. We've got to share perspectives. And that is the way that we can utilize the golden rule most effectively. It's got to go beyond just treat others the way I want to be treated. No, I need to think about how others actually want to be treated, right? Treat others with kindness and respect. Treat others the way that they want to be treated. So I thank you for sticking with me to the end. This is the end. This is the end. And I truly appreciate you sticking with me. The golden rule it's a beautiful first step, but it is not the final step. As you develop relationships with students and partner with them on their learning journey, it is important to stop and have them reflect on how they want to be treated. Hopefully, they will see growth and shifting over the course of the school year, right? We don't just want to reflect on this golden rule at the beginning of the year. Do it quarterly, maybe once at the beginning, once at the new year, once at the end of the year, but allow for that growth, allow for them to have a deeper level of thought and consideration as they develop in their selves, as they develop along their academic journey, as their confidence grows. And maybe they will treat and respect themselves more, because a lot of times when you start to think about how you actually want to be treated, you start to say, but am I treating myself that way? Am I treating myself that way? And once they are respecting themselves more, then they will in turn respect others. They will have a full cup. And when you have a full cup, then you can pour into others. But if you're coming from a place of hurt and confusion and dissatisfaction, then it's really challenging to treat others this way. And that was a point that one of the teachers during the workshop brought up as well. She said that, people can say, treat others the way that I want to be treated, but maybe you haven't, maybe you have this warped sense of the way that you want to be treated, and you don't treat yourself kindly, and others don't treat you kindly. So how are you supposed to then treat others kindly? We've really got to set aside that time for explanation, reflection, and then sharing. All right, my friend, until next Wednesday, I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week.